We are joined by Brian Sharp with the International Fund for Animal Welfare. Cape Cod has recently shattered every annual record for dolphin strandings following a rescue of 10 dolphins this past weekend. The International Fund for Animal Welfare, or IFA, reported 310 live dolphin responses this year. The annual average for live stranding cases a year was only 67. So, Brian, can you tell us a little bit more about what has been going on this year in terms of dolphin strandings, a little bit more about that specific rescue that just recently happened earlier this month, and just talking a little bit more about what is this huge increase that we are seeing this past year for these poor live animal strandings?
Yeah, this has just been a historic year in every way we look at it, and the team got a report from a member of the general public of dolphins stranded in Brewster at 6:30, so at daybreak. As responding to that, calls just started coming in, and over the next basically 4 hours, calls in from different places. And so by noontime, when low tide hit, the team was responding to 8 different locations in 5 different towns. So every town from Dennis all the way to Wellfleet had dolphins, live dolphins stranding. And so it spread our resources, it spread our staff, our volunteer responders, and our equipment pretty much as far as away. So it's 5-alarm dolphin stranding.
Yeah, and I mean, this was on top of some strandings that already took place over the summer. I imagine for the team, it was kind of tough, like just thinking you might have some opportunity to recover, and then this happens.
It's unfortunately it has been playing out since the end of June when we had that historic, the largest dolphin stranding in U.S. history, the 146. And it has just been, we've had a couple weeks where the team has started to catch its breath and then right back into it. And so one of the things that we know from talking to fishermen, we know from talking to fisheries biologists and whale watchers, they're seeing prey resource fish that these dolphins eat in closer to shore and in higher numbers than they've ever seen before. And that's attracting dolphins. And so whale watch vessels are telling us that they are seeing dolphins like they've never seen before in Cape Cod Bay. Now, that's okay as long as the animals stay in the deep sections of the bay, but then when they get to the eastern side and that tide goes out, it becomes a incredibly dangerous and deadly situation for those dolphins.
So a lot of this was around the Outer Cape region, but not entirely. Where are some of the major issues for you guys when it comes to the geography of the Cape impeding rescue efforts?
Yeah, Wellfleet is always the hot spot. I mean, it is the busiest place for dolphin strandings anywhere in the world, and that's just kind of the center. And so, our busiest area stretches from Dennis, so Barnstable, Dennis, all the way up to Wellfleet, with Wellfleet being that kind of hot spot within a hot spot. And this year's like no other. Typically, we respond to about 68 live dolphins per year. We just ran the numbers, and with the response the team had today, they had a single dolphin that stranded, was rescued and released. That is the 310th dolphin stranding response that the team has responded to this year. We're still in November, and at this rate, that's almost 5 times our annual average.
Now, you guys just opened your the dolphin hospital as well. I mean, it's almost like the dolphins heard about it and are trying to put it to the test. What's going on here?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, and the hard part is it's been so busy. It has actually been difficult for us. We can't, because we're dealing with such high numbers. It has actually closed the doors in a way to the hospital because the hospital is meant to care for small numbers of animals, so animals that strand by themselves or pairs. For mass stranding events, still the best thing is for us to be able to release the animals, treat the animals, assess the animals, and then quickly release them. Because things have been so busy, we haven't even had a chance to use the hospital for its intended means. So our staff is stretched so thin that we actually can't staff the hospital. And then, also with the high numbers in cases like that, there is a benefit to getting those animals back out there as soon as possible. But yeah, we're hoping things are going to slow down, and then that will allow us, because right now we're we're having to triage. Every day is just that we're having dolphins strand. We have to just try to make decisions that help the many rather than focus on the individual.
So is this usually the busy time for strandings? I don't recall them being in November usually, previous years.
We don't know, and that's the difficult part. Is in a normal year, and I'm starting to wonder what a normal year is anymore. If I can remember what those are like, um, our dolphin strandings typically happen between the end of December and mid-April. We're nowhere near that. Yeah, and so this is uncharted territory for us. We'll have a mass stranding in the summertime, but nothing like this. This is the busiest period we have had in our 26 years, and it's happened during the summer and fall. So we have no idea what this winter will bring. We hope it's not going to get worse, and we also hope that it doesn't continue at this pace because it's really draining our resources.
With such a non-standard year for strandings, have there been like conversations with the higher ups at IFAW about like possibly getting more resources down here?
It's full staff, but yeah, no, the contingency planning, we've reached out to partners at other agencies and brought them in for different times. Yeah, we've had to actually bring resources in during some of the peak times from other agencies in the region, which is a good training opportunity for them because then they get to respond with our staff and they get to see that high volume of strandings that we're seeing, and so that increases their experience. But yeah, it is. We've been reaching out to supporters, and luckily we've been getting good support to get equipment fixed because you can imagine being out in the field that much, vehicles, equipment, supplies are all tough because we're going through stuff quickly.
All right, yeah. With things going at the current rate that they are, gonna have to bust out the little red wagons for some people to come and assist as volunteers. Speaking of, actually, I wanted to ask as well: do you have some support from the local towns when it comes to dealing with these rescue efforts and more strandings?
Yeah, actually, we do. We have our volunteer responder corps is made up of over 160 volunteers throughout the Cape and southeastern Mass, and we have a lot of firefighters, police, Department of Natural Resources officials that are responders for us, and then also individual. When we had a large stranding of bottlenose dolphins, we asked the Wellfleet Fire Department if they could provide us some resources, and they sent out a brush truck to help keep the dolphins wet because it was a sunny day, it was warm, and so yeah, we're very happy whenever the towns can provide us that. Police have from the different towns have helped with traffic control so that our responders can get into these strandings. So it's taken an effort from all levels.
So we talked a little bit more off microphone as well before we started this interview, but we had been talking about how the dolphins they migrate, they follow the food source, they've been coming in more to shore. Do you work with like NOAA and some other regulatory bodies to kind of like keep track of that data, or?
Yeah, and that's something that we'll work with fisheries biologists and NOAA to try to see if what kind of quantify and qualify what trends they're seeing, and then kind of using the data that we're finding or that we're collecting from the marine mammal side to kind of overlay that and look at it. So yeah, that's the information that we're collecting is all based off of the animals that strand themselves, but it's an important factor when you're overlaying that data with other data sets to see a better picture of ocean health and what's changing with the oceans.
With things like the Dolphin Hospital, and also we have the cold stunning season for sea turtles, they get rehabilitated at a turtle hospital at New England Aquarium. But like, what about like long-term helping of the dolphins, or like having New England Aquarium set up like some of the turtle pools and stuff like that? Would that be an option possibly?
Oh yeah, unfortunately, yeah, their pools are set up for turtles, and they so not large enough for dolphins, and also the staffing issue. So it's unfortunately very, very different. So we can't really use them for that. But again, in this case, in these cases where we have these mass stranding events, the best option for us is assess the animals, provide care to those animals, and then get them back to deep water. And so Heron Cove in Provincetown is our preferred site, and that tends to be the best because it's the best location for deep water access. So it's the place on Cape where we're not catching an Atlantic swell. It within feet of shore, it drops off. It's on the north part of the bay, and it's facing west. So we tend to have a little bit better winds that way. And also, excuse me, it allows us, that's one of the beaches that allows us to bring our rescue equipment as close to the beach as possible. And so it shortens that transport time. There's no offshore sandbars or anything like that. So it really is a combination of factors. That's our preferred location. We'll also, if the winds are bad and out of the southwest, we'll use Sandy Neck. In Barnstable, we'll use Scusset if the winds are, depending on the directions of the winds. But Herring Cove and Provincetown is our preferred site.
All right, awesome. Brian, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. It has been a pleasure. Is there anything else we want to highlight for our listeners while I still have you, especially if people are interested, want to learn more, maybe help out the cause, rescuing dolphins here on Cape Cod?
Yeah, definitely. We encourage people to stop by our facility. You can peek in in Orleans, the Dolphin Rescue Center, but also visit our website, ifaw.org. /strandings, so you can find out more about the program. And then also, all of these calls and all of these rescues start with somebody walking on the beach, seeing an animal in distress, and picking up the phone and calling. And so we do encourage people to call our hotline. It puts them in touch with one of our biologists, and that hotline number is 508-743-9548.